Welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of Dear Marketers with Emily Kramer and friends. I am here with all three of my favorite friends and co-hosts from this season. We have Jenny Ty, we have Grace Erickson, and we have Devon Watts. If you're not watching the video, we are all wearing our camo Dear Marketers hats. We are ready to go. It's interesting that I've done this podcast all season long, but have never had you all together. So it should be an interesting time.
Hi.
It's so fun that we're all
Season
here.
finale.
And we're recording this on a Friday night, and we're a mix between time zones, East Coast and West Coast. And for Devon and I, it is 6:15 p.m. on a Friday. So someone said to me, it sounds like when I listen to your podcast that you're all actually friends. And I was like, no, we are. And if you didn't believe us, the fact that it is 6:15 p.m. on a Friday in the summer, first day of August of all things, you'll believe us now. We're friends.
This has been an incredible ruse.
Yeah. We did such a good job pretending we were friends this whole time.
This is the first time the four of us have ever hung out.
None of us actually worked
We
with
don't know
us
each
together.
other. This is the first time I've met you all.
Actually, remember, Kramer, that was one of our key perceptions for the pod, was Emily Kramer has friends.
Oh, yeah. That's
We
right.
did it.
That's right. Mm-hmm. True. My mom is going to be
Achieved.
so happy. Dad, if
Achieved.
you're out there, I do have friends.
Since it's the final episode, should we celebrate with a toast?
Yes. I was going to ask you what you were drinking, but you led me right to it. So
All right.
what is everyone drinking?
Well, I've got milk.
I've got
I
milk.
have milk. If you're not watching the video, you think I have milk in a clear glass, but I have it in a milk-colored mug to double the effect. Mine is almond.
Mine's
Whole
oat.
cow milk.
Whole cow milk.
Oh, yeah.
Damn,
I will
girl.
say, mine being oat is not representative of my feelings on milk. I am extremely pro cow milk.
You
I
have
just-
said this in another episode. I know because I went back today to tally best marketer wins, and I heard you say that exact thing. I don't know what episode it was, but you said that exact thing.
I'm paid
And-
by the dairy lobby. So
and
effective.
the dairy board, as I've called it in other episodes. Jenny, what kind of milk do you have?
I have half and half because that's all the dairy we had in the house today.
How versatile are we?
Jenny
I had a
has the
choice between
cutest
soy and
milk.
almond. I went with almonds because I'm actually going to drink it. All right. So cheers to saying milk in every episode and doing a podcast with your actual friends. Thanks. Love you, marketers.
Cheers.
Mm.
I didn't drink mine because I think it's expired.
Ooh, that's half
Does a body good.
by itself is a lot.
Mine's delicious. It tastes like a vanilla milkshake.
Mine was
I don't
chunky
usually
when I
drink it
poured
straight.
it.
So I'm actually might start
Turn mine into
drinking
coffee now.
almond milk straight more often. All right, now that we've spent 10 minutes on the podcast just talking about milk, which nobody knows, we still don't know why we mentioned milk in every episode. If you're a longtime 12-episode fan, you know that we got pretty into it. It's nice to have a through line. Marketing was supposed to be the through line, but it turns out it was just milk. Instead of having one question, we thought, why not have 8 to 12? So we won't go to Typeform and the dial tone for today's questions. Some of these were sourced via LinkedIn this week, and a lot were from questions people had asked on the Typeform throughout the season. So let's do it. The first question, very meta, very appropriate, from my friend Anna Furmanov. I've been on her podcast a couple of times too, so it feels very full circle. What did you most love and what did you least love about doing a podcast? Crickets.
Can I pick just hanging with my pals?
Yeah,
as part
sure.
of it?
Okay.
I mean, but maybe in a more than that. Well, in addition, part of that, hanging with my pals. But in particular, I think when you are like a marketing lead at a small company, as I've been, and maybe have a very small team or no team at all, you don't always get to like talk about marketing and the work in like a broader sense and like a more open-minded or open-ended sense versus like the tactics of day to day. And so it's been very fun for me to talk about all the fun parts of marketing and also to get to learn from all three of you because you're smarter than me.
Well, that's not true, but I think the lesson there for everyone is start a podcast with your friends. Maybe not that. It's a lot of work. I think the lesson is actually like find a circle of marketers that you trust, that you can talk to. And I think that's this wasn't the question, but I think that's been one of the most rewarding things. I think the thing I love the least about doing a podcast is it actually is a lot of work. You think, oh, this is going to be faster than writing something because it's just going to happen naturally, but there's some prep work that goes into it. And there's,
You
for
mean
me,
it's not all completely off the cuff?
no, a lot of it is. It might seem that way, but there is some prepared. I think to make a podcast successful, you have to put a lot of work into it, or there's just a lot of stuff out there. And so it's different than, for me, like writing a long newsletter, which also takes a amount of time, but it's been shockingly different than that. So it's not just a piece of cake with a glass of milk.
Yeah, like for us, we don't spend our time talking to marketers about marketing like you do, Kramer. So for me, yeah, it's so fun to like, reflect on evolution of everything that's been happening since we've been doing this work, and yeah, feeling seen by our listeners, sparring with you all. It's been great.
Devon, you want to read another question?
Yeah, I like this question.
Great, because you're reading it.
We're B2B marketers, and probably most of our listeners are, but which brand do you think is doing the most interesting or innovative B2C marketing right now?
The name of the asker is Syed bin Habib.
Where I'm getting a lot of inspiration right now is Upmarket. Cause, hello, Labubu. Have you all seen me? This
Can you
is
tell
soy
us
milk.
what is a labubu?
A Labubu is
Not half and half, it's soy milk now?
It's soy milk. This is soy milk. A Labubu is a cute little doll, a little monster doll. They are currently everywhere on social media and in real life because they're brilliant at B2C marketing. So here's what they do. When you buy a Labubu, it's in a blind box, so you don't actually know what color you're getting. So that creates this thrill of like, oh my God, what am I getting? If you get a color that you don't really want, you'll probably buy another one. So repeat customers.
Or trade, word of mouth.
They also like release Labubu in different themed collections. So this was part of the macaron collection. There's also a have a seat collection, multiple collections. So you got to get them all, right?
I don't know the words that you're saying, but I'm just
They do time drops. They're great about kind of like managing the scarcity of it to just like increase the value. And they've just really tapped into organic virality. There's like ton of celebrity influencers attaching these
like
little
you?
guys to their bags.
Yeah,
and
they're
now
getting free placement on the pod right now.
I don't think I'm a target audience.
I was
of
just going to ask,
Labubu.
what is their ICP? So you think they have a target audience and then they're like, there's a halo effect that they didn't
Correct.
even plan for?
Their target audience is probably like tweens who are into like, cartoons and anime and kind of that
So like a
whole
modern Hello
world.
Kitty meets a modern Beanie Baby with smarter marketing.
/ Furby.
Furby, yeah, it does look like a
Yes.
Furby.
And so I got influenced into buying one. So brilliant marketing. Get a Labubu.
If you can't see, Jenny's Labubu is beige and wearing a Prada outfit, which I don't know if it came with the Labubu or was an add-on.
So just the Labubu. There's a whole ecosystem of clothing, accessories. You can get Labubus for your Labubu now.
Soy milk is the name of your Labubu. Did it come
Yeah.
with that name? Because it's very confusing.
Soy milk is the color of the Labubu. And
And
that's
it
what
came with that name?
Yeah.
And
What
you
are
got
the
that in your
chances
blind box?
that you
I
are on
know.
a podcast with a secret word? I don't know what to
I
call it.
know.
Oh my God.
I'm stunned. Thanks to our partner Typeform, who made season 1 of Dear Marketers possible as our presenting sponsor. Typeform's been my go-to form builder for years, and I was thrilled to work so closely with a branded product I've loved for so long as our podcast partner. You've almost definitely filled out a Typeform before, but Typeform can do a lot more than just collect responses. Start from a template or build your own form with logic, and even add video. Add your brand kit so your forums feel cohesive and on brand. Enrich and score leads automatically. Use AI to summarize responses and send results to 300 plus tools. Use code MKT1 to get 20% off their annual growth plan. Thanks again, Typeform, for being here all season. Ooh, all right.
Okay, I'll pick another question out of the hat. What even is a marketing campaign anyway? And what isn't it? And does it actually matter?
I have thoughts. hot
Grace,
topic.
can you tell us who asked that question?
This one was from Cinziana Ursu, and I'm sorry if I messed up your name. Jenny, I think you have an answer.
Yes, I have thoughts about this because I've worked with a lot of teams that just get really tripped up by overthinking what a campaign is or isn't. And then they spend all of their time just trying to like get aligned on defining a campaign and then just burn all their time sort of just executing.
This happens on LinkedIn too. I've even participated a little bit. I know what a campaign is.
Yeah, I actually think Emily or Kramer,
Emily Kramer, in fact.
You have a really good definition, so I think you should share it with the audience.
All right, I'm going to do it without reading because I know it so well. Here we go.
We don't have notes. What do you mean?
No, but I really am going to say, I've had to say this so many times that it's one of the things I can say without looking. So a campaign is an initiative that combines fuel and engine for a specific audience, usually centered around a theme with a specific time frame. But the main thing is that it combines fuel and engine for your audience. So you're thinking about both in equal measure, you're putting it all together and boom, packaging it up into an initiative. And so I will add that I think part of the confusion is that in Salesforce, in HubSpot, in AdWords, ad platforms, a campaign is like an initiative in there and it's a little confusing. So I would say that you have to kind of separate your thinking. Not all the campaigns that you run are necessarily going to map perfectly to, say, a campaign you track in Salesforce, for instance. But a campaign, a capital C campaign, a big campaign that you run to bring all of marketing together to have a bigger impact, a high impact campaign is the definition that I shared, in my opinion.
Okay.
And in my definition.
Here's a question. Is
Yeah.
it a campaign if there's only one channel?
Yes. But usually they have more than one.
Yeah.
I say that because, like,
You can have a life cycle campaign that's just email.
that's just email.
But isn't it linking out to something?
Usually is multiple, but linking out to something doesn't mean that it's linking out to a channel. It means it's linking out to an asset. See, now here we go. The reason it's so hard is this.
Could be
is
linking
because
out to a fuel.
It combines all parts of marketing. So it combines so many things that then we get stuck on the definition of every single thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what is a channel? What is an engine? What is fuel? And so it really doesn't matter. But I think the point is that, like,
marketing soup.
it's an initiative that you're coming together and really saying, like, I'm intentionally putting this fuel with this engine for this audience and doing it in a, not one fell swoop, but in a
It's coordinated.
coordinated.
Yes.
It's coordinated and the experience is integrated. So typically around a theme or like an event or some sort of, milestone. or
Well,
moment.
and I think also something that is a hallmark of maybe not something being a campaign or not being a campaign, but a great campaign is that the engine choices, your channel, how you're distributing, help to also deliver on the message of the campaign.
Yeah, they
So,
go
like,
together.
Right. So it's not just like, oh, so we have this thing and we're distributing it through ads. Right? It's like, okay, where are those ads placed? How are they contextual to do with the message that you're trying to get across? Are you saying a productivity message? What if you put it in a place where people are always wasting time? Right? Like, how can back in my Taco Bell days,
Oh, here we go. Big
Liv
theme of the
Moss.
first episode. Liv Moss.
bringing it full circle, back in my Taco Bell days when I was very much living Moss, and I was on the media team, we referred to this in with an atrocious word that I love, which is creatia, which is that...
What?
Creatia.
Is this a Labubu competitor?
Yeah. But creative, basically that, like, the media choice is also a creative choice.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They should always be, yes, but...
Yeah, but I think it's a hallmark of good campaigns that actually, like, I think it is not that intuitive. Because to people who aren't running campaigns consistently, because they're saying, oh, I have this piece of content, this piece of fuel, and I just need to push it out. Versus thinking about, like, what's the message that the pushing mechanism is delivering.
I think also B2B marketers get tripped up specifically because I think campaign has this connotation of, like, it needs to be like a big brand advertising campaign with, like, out of home and, like, really, like, interesting creative, and it's like, no, it's literally like fuel, engine, set period of time, some sort of theme. It's coordinated. It doesn't always have to be like a big splashy brand campaign. You can have many types of campaigns.
I was going to play a game for this. I'm going to name a thing, and you tell me if it's a type of campaign. A product launch.
Yes.
Yes.
A data report that goes in press and has an event around it too.
Yes.
A blog post.
No.
No.
Because there's no real engine tied to it. It's not around a theme.
I think the question of whether it matters is interesting. I don't really think it matters if you call an email nurture sequence a life cycle campaign or not. But I think that because there are different tiers of campaigns and some are going to be bigger than others, but it is important to think about campaigns and understand, are you really running campaigns? How many of them are you running? Because it also serves to give the team focus, right? Like when you have big tier 1 campaign calendar, you know that during this certain period of time, like as much work as sort of can ladder up to that as possible should, like to the extent that it makes sense, right? You're kind of like centering the team's energy around this very clear message or audience or metric you're trying to move with this campaign, rather than spreading yourselves thin across a bunch of random acts of marketing.
Yes, exactly. Like you need to plan big capital C campaigns, preferably across multiple channels with very intentional assets that match with the fuel, that match with your audience. Because if you don't, you're like doing things in silos and you need to maximize the impact. Anyway, yeah, I think you have to plan for these. And they can't all be product launches to our last episode on product launches. So you have to plan for these. So how you exactly define it, it doesn't matter. But that you do the capital C, high impact, tier 1, big bet campaigns absolutely matters. These coordinated, tight efforts really make a difference and give that drumbeat and momentum.
I can take the next one. All right. How should startups think about balancing experimentation with more traditional project planning? We are big fans of John Cutler's Think Big, Work Small, but do you think there are situations where this approach doesn't make sense for marketing teams? This question comes from Stuart Vermel. Thanks, Stuart.
Do you all know
Alex, you did a great job.
Yeah, that was really going above and beyond.
Do you all know are you all familiar with John Cutler's Think Big, Work Small?
I'm not.
Okay. I wasn't either. And I asked ChatGPT to read it for me. Which you should never do with my newsletter. You should read the whole thing.
I think I think small and work big.
Okay, well, let me say what ChatGPT says it means. Have a bold strategic vision, but execute through small, deliberate, iterative steps. Teams that only think big often end up paralyzed, stuck in vision, strategy jacks, or endless planning. Teams that only work small crank out tasks with clear direction, leading to disjointed efforts or incrementalism, which I would call a random act of marketing. So you need to have big thinking that guides your direction and small steps that help you learn, adapt, and build momentum. So what's your take on this?
I think that's a very good point. I think it's about balance, right? Like you need the tier 1 campaigns, you need the big rocks. We used to call them, right, at Microsoft, Jenny. And you need things that are just going to kind of keep running the business and keep like your core fuel and engine
that work
going.
Against your strategy, that aren't random.
That don't work against your strategy, but that are, and I also think some marketing functions and tactics are more a better fit for experimentation, like press, for example. Like you can't really experiment with like, let's tell a reporter this and see what happens. Like,
yeah, I mean, you can test it once and then try to
right?
scale it, but you can't even necessarily scale it because when are you going to have another story? I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, you can't really test. You have to have a pretty clear picture of the story you want to tell. You have to plan things in advance. Whereas performance marketing, you're experimenting all the time, hopefully. Web optimization, experimenting all the time.
If you have the audience.
Within the framework of like a longer term strategy. So yeah, I think it's also like not one size fits all across marketing functions in terms of the balance of experimentation and bigger projects.
I think to that point, like I would change this. It's not as catchy this way, but I would change this to think big, work small, and work big. Because I think you need the big bets. You need the big campaigns. You need the firework finale, the whatever analogy you want. But you also need to do small incremental things. So I had this framework it's set KPO goals, not just KPI goals. So that means 3 types of goals. K stands for KPI, your metrics goals. P stands for projects or big bet projects, those big campaigns, those big initiatives. And O stands for operations, things behind the scenes, hiring, tool setup, new processes, automations that power the work to hit the big bet goals and the work to hit the KPIs. But I used to have a 4th type of goal, but I really liked the framework of set KPO goals, not just KPI goals, so I killed it. No, that's not why. But I used to have another section of that, which was experiment goals, which was if you don't set aside time for experiments, you're not going to do them. And so then it really wasn't like apples and apples in terms of the amount of goals you're setting, and really you need to bake experiments into what's a small version of this project we can do before the big version. If we're going to do a big, I don't know, if we're going to do a whole on the road roadshow event series, maybe we should try one first, or maybe we should try a webinar first. So you need to like work this in. If we're going to try to hit our KPI goals by doing a lot of outbound, like we should probably try outbound first. So there's ways to kind of work these in. So it's more like experiments need to be integrated throughout everything you do, but sometimes you got to go for it and you got to trust your gut, and experimenting might lead you in the wrong direction. So I think my answer is not catchy. It's think big, work small, work big, and set KPO goals with a culture of experimentation built in. That's a long one. Anything else? Did we answer the question? Someone check that I answered the question. Yep.
Do you think there are situations where this approach doesn't make sense for marketing teams? The John Cutler framework.
You gave a good example.
Yeah.
All right.
Fun.
We should go read that. Thanks to our partner Framer, the no-code website builder for projects and startups of any size. Framer's been with us since early in the season, and their product just keeps getting better. I love how fast they move and how fast they make building a website for marketers. Framer bridges the gap between design, dev, and marketing and doesn't feel like an outdated CMS. Building and launching pages feels like designing, not wrestling with code and toggles. You can even type a prompt and Framer will generate a layout you can modify and build on. They also have built-in analytics with click tracking and A/B testing, so you can test and improve your site right where you build it without third-party tools or slow, messy scripts. If you're ready to switch to Framer, they'll actually rebuild or migrate your site for free in 3 days. New and existing teams on the Scale plan are eligible. Just submit your brief at framer.com/switch. It is very difficult to say /switch. Anyway, thanks Framer for being part of Dear Marketers Season 1.
Okay, I pulled a question out of a hat just now that I don't feel like I have a good answer to, so I'd like to be the asker. May I ask this question?
Yes, but we were going to move to like a lightning round of some quick hit questions.
Yeah.
So is this
It's
from
a
the
quick
quick
hit.
hit
It's a
hat
quick
or the
hit.
big hit hat? Okay.
It's a quick hit.
Lightning round. Yeah.
Tips and
Okay.
tricks to ensure highest webinar and private event dinner turnout.
All right, we only have time for like a tip and a trick because this is our lightning round. So does anyone have a tip or a trick for webinar and private event dinner turnout?
For a dinner, for an in-person event, send a car to them. Tell them you're sending a car
Good one.
and send a car to their door.
That's a good
Love
one.
that.
Also, thanks to Krish Malpani for asking this question from humantic.ai. My tip is to leverage your ecosystem. So bring in someone else that has an audience that overlaps with your audience but isn't exactly the same. Sounds so easy, but too often people don't do this. Whether it's in the booth in real life, as we talked about, I think in episode 10 on in real life events, or whether it's to a webinar. Get people in there that have overlapping audiences, even if you have big reach yourself. That's mine. I'm gonna pick a lightning round question from the hat. This is related. What are the chances? When bringing on new co-marketing or co-selling partners, what's the best way to enable ongoing collaboration that drives meaningful results? Bonus points for AI-driven ideas that a lean team can implement. Thanks, Brandy Eppolito. I just want to make a clear rule here. While there are bonus points from Brandy here, bonus points will not be applying to the best marketer game at the end of the show because there's a lot of stakes riding on who wins this one. Not really. The first place winner is already set in stone, but it doesn't matter. It still is going to matter. So anyway, anybody got a tip or trick for this one?
I think with partners, it's all hunky-dory, you all feel great about it, and then it's like, okay, how are we going to actually create accountability around some of these things that we're intending to do together? So something like a shared project or like action plan with clear ownership and dates and stuff, and then maybe have the GPT write you a email sequence that you can like set up for auto sending on certain milestone dates to be like, hey, let's get a meeting scheduled.
So do the same things a salesperson might do for enterprise sales, like, you know, whether using a CRM or I like to use Adio for partner stuff. So you can set up really simple workflows. Not a sponsor on this one, just like using Adio for partnerships myself. The other thing too is like to remember that you can use tools like Clay or even like Adio to enrich and actually find new partner ideas. I think people are so hung up on just using it for prospects. Grace, you tell us, because you lead sales, partnerships, and marketing. Baller.
I do. Well, I think an important thing for partnerships that, at least when I was starting to plug into like partnership work in earnest, which is very important for us at Cocoon, the amount of investment or the amount of importance on the partnership is not equal. And sometimes it's really unequal, especially like when you're a younger company and you're maybe relying on larger partners to help you grow. It could be your number one focus, and your counterpart at that partner, you could be one of 20 partners that you're working with. And so figuring out that dynamic internally first, figuring out what is important to them, what is motivating to them. Is it shared revenue goals, or is it actually like this individual wants to look good? And figuring out what are the actual things that are going to motivate them.
All right, someone else read another. This lightning round isn't that lightning, but it's lightning-ish. We always do this.
Another lightning round question. Why are so many B2B case studies painfully long and boring? How do we fix it? Thank you, Lucia Giles, for the question.
I don't know if this is an answer. I fear this is going to get worse before it gets better because of AI created content. Like, AI is not trying to get...
You think they're going to get longer and more boring? Oh.
I feel like AI delivers a lot of filler words, which like is not my style of good writing.
Yeah.
And like it'll base it off of existing long boring case studies, right? Like that's what it does.
Yeah, that's
it's
the
like
thing. It's feeding it in.
Yeah.
I
Most
mean,
probable case study outcome is a long and boring one. Therefore, I will create a long and boring one. But part of it too, I don't think is actually even the writing. Like we need to ask better questions, right? Like it comes from like what actually is the meat of the story you're trying to tell, and then I think it just becomes a lot less boring, whether it's long or not. So
yeah, I think I would just think less about the actual format and start with the actual customer story and value. Like, did they actually do something cool with their product? Ask good questions. Like, capture the core substance of that, and then you can package it up in all the different ways. I actually think, Devon, you did this really well back at Yammer back in the day. You guys produce really amazing videos, and we turn those into written case studies. We use them in campaigns. Like, it's not just the PDF problem solution, what's next format.
yeah.
I think it's really, though, also, like, part of the problem is that we're stuck in the default, even with all these new tools. We're just like, let's do the same thing, but now we'll do it with AI, so it's faster. It's like, maybe don't do the same thing at all. And so I think it's the same problem with, like, the PDF one-pager. Like, we have so many tools to not do that and to make, like, personalized, customized web pages. The Commute is great for that. There are other tools that are great for that. Like lots of amazing tools for this. We also have cool tools that have, there's a company called User Evidence that pulls in customer quotes from all your feedback and makes it really straightforward. They've been a sponsor in the past as well. But there's all these cool tools. But the problem is that people like sales ask, I need another case study. I need another case study. And I don't fault them because they're really just like, I need social proof. And that's what they've been trained to ask for. Mm-hmm. And so pushing back and saying, again, like, what's the problem here? What are we trying to solve? Oh, we need to prove that we work for this type of business, or we work for this type of rip and replace, or whatever.
My favorite thing now is when we hear from sales that they need more case studies. The follow-up question is, where do you look for case studies? Half the time, they're
what
not
was the last
looking in
case
the
study
right
you
places.
used?
So it's literally it's a lot of internal education. Like, hey, did you know we had a whole customers page on the website with like 50 stories that you can filter? Yeah, let's start there.
I mean, there's a whole episode that we didn't do this season because it's over. Sorry. On social proof and customer stories and all of this stuff because it's pretty poorly done. But this is a lightning round and we've already gone beyond lightning. So just know that, like, rethink the plot. Don't just try to make it faster and easier to make the same case studies, PDFs that you've been making before. 42 Agency helps startups clean up and scale their marketing ops. From routing logic to fixing scoring, aligning HubSpot and Salesforce to running campaigns, they do the MOPS work your team avoids. Here's something we can all agree on. Not much in marketing can get done without the right setup and foundation to reach your audience. If you've added enrichment tools, signal tools, AI workflow tools, or started dipping your toes into account-driven GTM this year, you're probably feeling the RevOps pain. Bringing in someone who's done RevOps work dozens of times before to partner with your team will save you hours, and we recommend 42. Visit 42agency.com, the numbers 42agency.com, and mention MKT1 to get 10% off a consulting package. Thanks, 42. Someone read the next question.
Okay, how do you think about the role the marketing team plays when supporting technical products like data and developer tooling companies? How technical do various members of the marketing team need to be to support these products, and how do they build rapport with various technical roles across the company? And this question comes from Allie Beazle. Thanks, Allie.
I got a take on this one, which is I think if you are a marketer at a deep tech company, I don't think it's actually realistic to require that everyone on your marketing team have that depth of technical expertise, but you're probably going to want to invest in having some technical PMMs on your team. If you're marketing to developers, you'll probably want a developer relations function. And so these are the folks that are going to be like getting in the weeds with your target audience, can speak their language, especially because these audiences typically don't want to be marketed to. So yeah, I think that's table stakes if you want to be credible. That said, I think the rest of your marketing team needs to have some amount of working fluency in the, kind of technical nuances of your product. And they should be, spending time with your internal subject matter experts, your customers, just so they, can understand kind of how your product fits into their day-to-day. So yeah, I would say not realistic for everyone to be super technical, but you'll definitely want to invest in certain functions within your team.
I kind of disagree in that I think developer-focused companies may think that they're like more special snowflakes than they are. But let me explain that. I'm going to flip it around in a second. Like, it's not that special. Every company should be looking for marketers who can deeply understand the audience, no matter if it's themselves or not, can deeply tap into it, can figure out how to add value in a way that's specific to that audience, can figure out whether they like sort of cheesy stuff or whether they want to be talked to like the technical experts they are, or whatever it is. Like, find the people that can tap into the audience. And I think some people, to do that, have to know the audience really well. They have to be like married to someone in the audience or like have marketed to them before. I'm just laughing because Devon's married to an engineer. That was directly targeted. But like some of the people that do that don't, like, they can figure it out, and they have figured it out, or they're really great at working with the subject matter experts internally. They're a really great like cross-functional person who can interview and like listen to people. And I would say that you're like this, Jenny, like where you're really great at like listening and pulling out the themes and finding it. And so you might not. And so really it's like I think Kathleen, the co-founder of Market One, and I think we did something actually like in TechCrunch or something a while back at the very beginning where we said the best marketing is developer marketing, which is like everyone should take an example, which is like nobody likes to feel marketed to. They like to feel seen and heard and all of those. On one hand, developer companies are not that special, but in other ways, like everyone should try to be as special as they are, and that like you need to find those right marketers, right?
I think the problem isn't unique.
Yeah.
Yes, the problem isn't unique.
But those companies have found the solution faster, maybe by like an imperative of the audience.
Yes.
Right. But it doesn't.
Yeah, that's
mean
a better way. That's a more sophisticated way to say it. Thank you, Grace.
Yeah, I feel like our answers are what different. I think it's just I think it just hinges on whether we think developers are special or not. But it goes back to like know your audience.
I think every audience is special, Jenny.
Yeah, I do think there is something here about technical products, which I would say that a technical product isn't necessarily like dev, right? You can have a highly complex product that isn't in that space.
I think deep tech includes like data, security, and compliance. Like, it's not just...
But it could also mean something that's very industry and vertical specific, and my answer remains the same there. founders always ask me, do you need to hire someone who's an expert in the vertical? I'm like, it's actually more important to find someone who's an expert in your business model or has done any sort of vertical marketing before to an audience that they don't know well. Like, that's what's important, that they understand how to focus on a very specific niche, that they understand how to learn something that maybe isn't a startup for startups.
Yes. Yes. I think that's exactly my point, which is that, like, for instance, Cocoon is a very, very technical sale, not being sold to a technical buyer, which is a specific niche that it takes being able to straddle.
It's true though. So I'm in fintech, which one could argue, I mean, fintech is pretty complex with like payments and, interest rates and float revenue. And I don't know, it's like anything
Float
is
revenue.
complex. Yes. Anything is
Right on.
complex if you don't know anything about it, right? And I didn't know much about actual banking before I know.
But you've been in fintech for a while.
That's the thing. I think that building a good marketing team is not, first of all, you're going to be so limited if you just look for people who either like come from an engineering background or a finance background in the case of fintech. And the way more important thing is to get a good marketer who is high aptitude and will
Absolutely.
quickly learn.
And knows how to figure it out.
And knows how to figure it out. Well, and also actually, like, I think there's something to be said for bringing in the people that can figure it out and don't have the,
Preconceived
decade
notions.
of this is what
Yes.
we've always done for this audience. Oh, CFOs have always wanted white papers, so we keep doing white papers. That's
They really want PDF
bad
case
take.
studies.
yeah, they want.
Yeah, they don't necessarily. Yeah, so I think it's like all marketing is kind of the same thing. I mean, I do think there's something to be said for not reinventing the wheel and knowing, hey, we probably should, we can probably learn from these companies on what they did from developer marketing and then see how that applies to all our company. But I mean, it sounds like, again, we could do a whole episode on this specifically too. And I'm not trying to discount the marketers who have spent their whole career focused on this. There is a place for that, but it's definitely not the whole team.
Yeah,
and I don't
no,
think you
that's
should
the thing.
limit your search
Don't just
for
hire
that.
technical marketers. It needs to be a balance.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, there's a question about positioning that I want to ask.
Okay, do it. Ask it.
How does the process or framework for developing positioning change for different verticals or startup stages? AKA different segments is probably how I would have said this. From Brian Ottoboni, I think.
I think it's Brianna Ottoboni.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was looking at the LinkedIn URL, not the actual written out name. Brianna, thank you for the question, Brianna. I will also start answering this one because I do feel like I have an answer. I think for positioning, the process and the framework don't really change that much. But one element of the framework is the audience, that like, who are we for? And when you're working on positioning for a specific segment, that audience definition becomes narrower and more specific. So you develop your positioning within the framework of your overall product positioning, but with that specific audience or segment in mind. So you emphasize different, the benefits that you think are most important to that specific subsegment. You maybe, highlight certain features or products that are particularly important to them. But I don't think that the process fundamentally changes. But what do you guys think?
I don't think for verticals it does.
Right.
I do think that for
Company
stages
size.
of your startup, it almost certainly does, because at stage, 0.
Oh, stages of your startup. I was thinking like your customers.
Oh,
company
no,
size,
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you're right that that's what this person means. Is like
Yeah,
as your
because-
company evolves to the next stage,
Right.
how does the
because
way you do positioning change?
stage 0 of your company, you need, a positioning statement, 3 core benefits, some clear differentiators, and to shove it out the door so you can start getting feedback.
Yeah.
Right, which is really different from when you're, okay, now we sell to 3 different verticals.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we need different positioning for the verticals, or we need positioning for the different personas, or actually we've learned a lot more about our competitors in this time, and that's an important part of our positioning now, and it wasn't previously. So I think, like anything, it matures.
It matures and evolves because the market's always evolving, right?
Yeah, right. It's, of course, if you're using your framework from day one for your positioning at your Series C positioning will probably be missing something.
Totally. Yeah, you have to do that continuous research and validation, I think, especially as you expand who your ICP is, who you're selling to, and as just time goes on, right? People's perspective changes, their priorities change, so you have to revisit and make sure that positioning still makes sense.
I think the big thing here is you want to do positioning overall for your primary audience, then you want to break it down and do it for each one, but you also want to tell like your founders or other teams that that's what you're doing, because a lot of times people think that overall positioning is for everyone. And if everyone is not on the same page, like this is our main positioning for these audiences, and hey, we're going to actually do a sectioned off version for this audience. That's not totally different, but somewhat different. That's important for people to know from the get-go. I think a lot of positioning debates that happen are like because people don't understand like we're positioning for the next 3 to 6 months or till things change for these audiences, not these audiences. And so I recommend not only like breaking it down by ICP, but even breaking it down like in 12 months, our positioning might be this, because that solves a lot of problems too. A lot of founders are so used to selling the vision that they want to position way ahead. And it's like, no, we'll get there. That's going to be in the future. So I think there's like, yes, do the main positioning statement, but recognize that you are definitely not done. You're never done, and you need to branch it off into other different things. I don't know. That's a whole episode as well. All these things are whole episodes.
It's basically season 2.
Just also remember, you can't be everything to everyone, so
Yes.
careful how many ICPs you have.
Yeah. Oh,
And
this
how
shouldn't
many
like branch off
positioning-
forever.
Yeah,
You shouldn't
I mean,
have 10, you shouldn't have 10 ICPs and 10 versions of your positioning statement.
Yeah.
Great. Love it. All right. Grace, pull this next question out. Read it for us.
Next question. Moving up market is a challenge. What are key indicators that your company is successfully moving up market? What should marketing be looking out for? That's from Corey Hamor. Thanks, Corey.
Moving up market is a challenge. I just took a sip of milk, so I should be ready for this question. But okay. I got an answer. Anybody else have one?
I mean, I have one which is sort of that. I mean, to the question of what are key indicators that your company is successfully moving up market. I really think like customers will tell you, like you will start to actually like kind of organically attract bigger and bigger customers.
Yeah.
You will start selling to upmarket customers like without really trying to. And again, not like they'll all start flooding in. Like this isn't just like sit around and wait for them to come. But I do think it's more of a cautionary tale. I've seen a lot of companies think they're ready to go up market long before they are and set KPIs and company level OKRs around moving up market when the product was just nowhere near. You know, every time we would talk to a bigger customer, they would be like, no, here's all the reasons why. So I think you do need those signs from the market a little bit, at least, to kind of validate that you should really take that like swing.
I liked your point, Devon, for sure. But Jenny, I liked your follow-on point as well.
Yes, similar to Devon, I've seen a lot of companies basically start a new fiscal year and say, we're moving up market. Here's our enterprise segment. It's this headcount. We're going to set pipeline and revenue goals that start today. And it's like, let's back up 10 steps because we have zero awareness. It doesn't just turn on overnight. And I think that's often a mistake I see. But I think if, to talk about specific indicators about whether you're successfully moving up market or even ready, I think one basic thing you could do is just look at your inbound traffic, like directly to your homepage. And if you can track the accounts that are landing on your homepage and starting to see...
Which you should be able to do because you should have all your accounts.
Exactly. If you're starting to see an uptick in larger companies, then yes, there's probably some organic traction out there among upmarket buyers. But I think, that's so important to keep in mind is that you might think you're ready for upmarket and you probably haven't done a lot of foundational work to get you where you want to go.
Yeah, I think like you're right, like expectations are often way off on how easy this is going to be. I also think people try to jump. They're like, we're 50 to 100, let's go to 500 plus too. Let's do mid-market and enterprise at the same time.
Yep.
And at that point, you're actually doing like, there's like no economies of scale in some situations where you're doing SMB and enterprise. Like you especially if you're like PLG or even have a sales assist, like it's a completely different sales motion. It's completely different channels. Like you might be, if you're mostly inbound or even referral driven, and then you're like have to be mostly partnerships and events driven. Like it can be completely different channels,
Especially, I think,
completely different content.
Yeah, if you started PLG and then you're like, I'm going to go Upmarket and layer in sales-led motion,
And-
people's mindsets are wired to think, oh, this is a very fast sale. Like, it's just literally, you know,
well,
sign
but
up
not
and
only
then-
that, like your marketing team might be wrong. Because to my point before, like, you know, I don't necessarily think you need to get someone who has experience with your audience, but I do think that marketing for different motions and different ACVs is a totally different thing. Doesn't mean the whole team needs to switch, but it means maybe you need to hire someone that's enterprise focused. Maybe you need to hire a salesperson that's enterprise focused. Like this is going to take some time. And maybe you need a pod to like go out and test it a little bit and do some of this stuff on an experimental basis before you like say, oh, we're going to get all this revenue, because it just can take a really long time. And there's just, again, there's not a lot of economies of scale if you go. So like baby stepping sometimes works a lot better.
Baby stepping and then using the results to like do internal education, be like, hey, this takes a lot longer. These are the actual channels that work. Like it's very different from what we've been doing.
I like to think of it as like whether you're going from ICP to ICP, the same question remains. I mean, I guess this is a different ICP, but like, hey, we're trying to sell from this vertical to this vertical, or we're trying to go from SMB or mid-market to upmarket. In all of those situations, you want to build like little bridges first. Bridges. Like you want to do it so that like one audience helps you get to the next audience. And so that could mean like bringing on an ecosystem partner that helps you reach your core audience, helps you reach the new audience, like find like bridges to get there. Don't just think you can make like the leapfrog. And so, I think the big thing is expectation setting. It's not going to happen overnight. And you do want to feel some of that pull, and you do want to test the waters, and you might need to use different channels that you're already using to test the waters. All right, I think we have time for two more. One long one, one short one. I'll read this one. It's from my friend Elaine Zelby, who's a co-founder at Tofu. What does not enough, just right, and too much measurement of channels and campaigns look like? What does too much look like?
That it's distracting you.
That you're spending all your time trying to instrument attribution and measurement and not like actually doing things. Like all of your ops work should be taking your team, like your ops, your like back to the KPO goals, like your ops, your hiring, all of that behind the scenes work should be taking like 20, 30% of your team's time, not 100. Yeah, and I think that it distracts from decisions. I think the bigger thing about measurement than like, not to insult Elaine's question, it's great, but again, whole podcast episode, it's that the ways that we used to do basic attribution, which was like start with first touch attribution, figure out how people came to you, doesn't work anymore. If you were doing marketing the 2025 way, you're putting all of your accounts into your CRM or database in advance. You're doing that research, you're enriching the accounts, you're finding who's in your ICP and adjacent ICPs that you might go after next, and you're loading them up. And so if you do that, or if you have a ton of SDRs, even a few years ago, and they're building up all these lists, the original source is going to be list or research, and that is completely not useful. And it's going to look like all of it came from that and not inbound. So it's actually much more useful to know what happened right before a meeting. And that isn't necessarily even out of the box in HubSpot and Salesforce, but what was like the last touch right before the meeting, or what happened right before? But even more important than that, because marketing is not linear, and we've learned all this, and people come in different ways, is to know all of the things that are influencing pipeline and revenue, which is typically called campaign influence. So knowing all of the interactions and having to laddering them up. I think another big mistake that I see is when companies look at channels in isolation. Mm-hmm. What did we get from X?
Yep.
Yeah.
And like that's not how it works. If you turned off, like what did we get from AdWords, just a basic example, what did we get from paid search? And you then turn off paid search, you might lose more than what you think you're going to lose, or you might gain more. Like things, that was not a great example, but things are not done in isolation. Like one channel impacts the other channels, and so many finance teams, I just saw it last week, asked people to report on the efficacy of each channel. No, it's the efficacy of each campaign.
Of the campaign. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
I've seen people drill down into specific tactics within channel, and I'm like, no.
It's because you can't optimize that way. You can't. If you're optimizing between each of those things, everything's going to break. You need to be optimizing at a large level.
And you're
like
losing,
at a high level.
for the trees. You just end up spending all your time trying to drill down into like every, detail and minutia, and it's just not helpful for anyone.
Yeah. The goal should be improve blended CAC and payback periods over time, not to prove the worth of a single channel or a single campaign or initiative, actually. Like, you want to know which campaigns are sort of most pushing people through the funnel. But even that is imperfect. You should look at campaign influence. So it's not even the goal. The question you're trying to answer is not even, was this channel effective or was this campaign effective? But are we acquiring customers in an increasingly more efficient way across channels, marketing channels, sales, partnerships, like fully blended?
There is no perfect answer. And if you're seeking a perfect answer, you're going to waste a shit ton of time.
Yeah. That's when you're in too much measurement mode.
Yeah. I got so excited about this question or intense that I'm wearing Crocs right now. I'm in New Hampshire, guys. And I was playing with a gibbet on my shoe, and I broke the gibbet from the little holder.
Oh no.
And it's my summer camp gibbet. So it's like, you can't just go buy it at the Crocs store.
Can you glue
How are
it
people
back?
going to know you're a camp gown?
Crocs, great consumer
Ecosystem.
brand. Just great consumer brand. Back to the B2C question.
Yeah,
They're
that's
still
true,
doing it.
actually. Really cool
Ugly
story,
shoes, still
too.
doing it.
You guys know
What
about the
a
history
story.
of Crocs? It's great.
We'll talk about that after the show. The other thing I want to say here, because I have to say it, I don't know if I said it on the whole pod, and I feel really strongly about this. That's why I tore my gibbet off my Crocs, and broke it. Is that do not call things team name source pipeline, marketing
Yes.
source pipeline, sales source pipeline, or don't call it a sales qualified lead and a marketing qualified lead. Call it qualified one, call it qualified two, call it inbound pipeline, outbound pipeline. Even that kind of has problems. It just creates territorialism, and that's not how it works. We're doing different things. We're working together. It's not how it works. And don't base your hiring plans on that either. I don't have anything else to say on that. I'm exhausted. Thanks, Elaine, for breaking my Croc.
She's going to have to buy you a new
Your
one.
Croc, the gibbet.
Well, my whole Croc is ruined now, Jenny. Last question before Best Marketer. Devin, why don't you read it?
Okay. Oh, this is the impossible to answer question. How do we finally get CEOs to respect us as marketers? Is that too much to ask for 10 minutes? From Julia Wiltshire. This is such a sad but good question.
I have a one-line answer. Listen to the full season of Dear Marketers podcast. Share it. Actually, I have two sentences. Read Market1 Newsletter.
Is the implication there that we all have gotten CEOs to respect us?
No, it's not that. It's that.
I'm speaking for myself. I'm like still working on it.
I have truly only gotten CEOs to respect me after I've left the company, or founders that I advise and don't work at the company. Like, it is so much harder internally to get a CEO to respect you day in and day out as a marketer, unless the founder is a marketer. Or
I don't want
gets
to toot my own horn, but my CEO respects me.
What are your tips and tricks?
And has since before I became a sales leader too. Well, no, I think I assessed founders based
Yes,
on their respect for
that's-
marketing in the first place. I picked someone predisposed to respect me.
That's a big part of it. If a founder doesn't like marketing at all when you join, they're probably never going to like it.
Actually, and I do think another piece of it, though, is to find ways you can demonstrate how your marketing brain is valuable to more parts of the business than just
Yes.
marketing. Because marketing thinking, Kramer's
Kramer
like,
looks
no.
very unconvinced.
She's
Jenny and I are
surprised,
like
no.
nodding profusely, and Kramer's like,
The CEO that isn't familiar with marketing, likely the root of this is often that the CEO has a narrow view of what is marketing and what is good marketing, whatever. The reality is every part of the business can be improved by marketing in some way and marketing thinking. Almost every part of the business. And so if you can demonstrate how you can improve your retention numbers with marketing, which was something that had to be actively demonstrated, like at a company I worked at. Or if you could
improve
demonstrate
the onboarding experience,
the onboarding
with
experience,
marketing thinking.
how the product experience gets better when you embed education in it, and that is marketing thinking of how do you guide people through an experience, right? Like when you can start to basically give your marketing opinion to every part of the business and show that.
Why was I getting upset? Because I think if you come in like guns blazing and like, I can think like product, I can think like sales, like you have to do it in like a marketing way.
Yeah.
So you can really step on people's toes And like, I've probably done that before where you're like, I can fix it all. And so like baby step. But
you
I
have to
think
build trust first. But I agree. I think Grace is right because it's all about understanding what they care about, and they don't just care about marketing; they care about the whole business. So if you can add value in lots of different ways, then they're just going to trust you even more deeply. And
and find the places where you can extend your value beyond the confines of what the CEO thinks is marketing.
Expand their horizons
and pick one and be like, oh, well, I can support on this project, or I have an idea about this problem you're trying to solve. Let's work together and start to, then all of a sudden you're embedded in every part of the company and you are instrumental.
That could be scary.
Don't do that for real. Don't do that.
Yeah, that's what Grace did. Here's some like quick things though, because I have gotten so much better at this in the 5 years I've been working with founders directly across many businesses. But there are some basic things. Come in and get quick wins. Like, come into the company and like, don't like, yes, I love a big bet project. We've talked all about it. Get a quick win. Like, do something really quickly that shows impact somewhere. Even if it's boring, like low hanging fruit, like do something that you can point to the success of quickly. I think the next thing is have a plan. Even if they're not asking for it, have a plan that you can pull up and point to when they're asking for a bunch of things. The last one is that like marketing isn't sales and it's not that narrow. And so I use this analogy all the time. Building a marketing team is more like building a product team. It's multidisciplinary, like engineering, product, and design. You're doing long-term projects and trying to hit short-term KPIs. That's more like product and sales, which you're really focusing on. Quarterly revenue, and I'll throw more about this in the newsletter, but those use the fuel and engine analogy. Explain marketing. Recognize they don't know as much about marketing as you might think they do, because they probably don't. All of these things work pretty well. But again, if you come in and the person doesn't love marketing and thinks marketing is like the plague and like they're reluctant to even bring it on, like you're probably not going to change their mind. So just know if you're setting yourself up for failure when you join. But I think all of this comes down to know your audience and know what they care about. Like all of these things. How do you work better with partners? How do you work better with your internal stakeholders and your founders? How do you work better for your audience, whether developers and technical or not? Know your audience, know what they care about, know how to speak to them. That's marketing. And if you don't want to do that, you probably shouldn't be in marketing, to be honest. So
that's the sound bite.
And that's the end of that podcast. You probably shouldn't be in marketing. I love that was my last line. That is the most Emily Kramer thing to have happened.
We've assessed it.
No,
we've listened
it's not
to your
the last,
questions.
right? Because we have to figure out who lost the most at
Oh,
Best
yeah,
Marketer,
we're going to play
and
Best
therefore probably
Marketer.
shouldn't be in marketing.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It was very loose, questionable judging throughout the Best Marketer game. Half of them didn't have to, so I had to decide this morning who actually won the round. And
Well,
I was
and
like, I
one
don't
of
know.
the wins got rescinded in La La Land and then granted to me on LinkedIn.
Oh, I didn't
after
count
that
that.
episode.
All right, we might have to go back and do some
Recount.
retallying. We might have to do some retallying. I do want to play one last version of Best Marketer, which is, so Jenny, you killed my answer because the game is, what have you learned about B2B marketing from blank? And I have a different one for each of you, and I didn't tell you the blanks in advance. And for Jenny, mine was going to be, what have you learned about B2B marketing from Labubu?
I already gave my response.
But you already gave your answer.
Damn.
So does that give you
And it
some
was
sort
a
of
good
point?
answer.
Probably, because you predicted what it is. It's really not in this document. So I got to think of a new one from Jenny, but I'm going to go with Devon and Grace first. So Devon, yours is, what have you learned about B2B marketing from owning a pontoon boat? Now you know why I didn't share these in advance. They're so random and weird, but very personal all at the same time.
Sometimes you're gonna hit the dock, and that's okay.
Good news with a pontoon is it's kind of bouncy. It's kind of bouncy, so if you hit the dock, it's okay. You'll bounce back.
Yeah, you'll keep
It's
floating.
very clear
you know?
that you have not been on a lot of pontoon boats, Grace, because
Yeah,
they're
what
not
if you
bumper cars.
bouncy?
It's not really like an elastic situation.
Not a
It's more like
rubber
a
raft
tip-over.
situation.
I see. It is. This is making it clear I haven't touched a
You're
pontoon.
from the
maybe.
Midwest, Grace.
Okay, Jenny. I have a new one for you. It's kind of like a Labubu, but it's about real life Labubus. Jenny, what have you learned in the past couple of years about being a dog mom?
That it's very important to lean into brand consistency. So my dog Boucle is very much aligned with, who I am and what I stand for. I'm very much about that creme fraiche lifestyle, so he fits right in. I think it's,
Can you explain what the creme fraiche lifestyle for people who haven't listened to all 12 episodes of this podcast
Well,
is?
I think as if you were watching the video clip, you can probably see that my home is quite creamy in color. So we don't have any dark colors, quite milky. Boucle is a curly white dog with a little bit of tan on his ear. So it's right in. Just blends in.
You have a strong brand identity, and your dog fits into it.
Yeah.
I'm
and
not
it's not
sure.
sad beige. It's creme fraiche. I just want to clarify.
Grace, what have you learned about B2B marketing from the three of us? You have the hardest question.
Oh, everything I know, because I was a Taco Bell marketer before I knew any of you. And I hated B2B marketing. I thought it was the worst, the dumbest, the biggest waste of creativity and time, such a snooze, whatever. So everything I know.
Oh, there we go. Great answer. Ooh. All right, here's the thing. Let me give you the tally so far. Jenny has a technicality, which is that apparently I gave her a win on LinkedIn after the fact. But as of right now, it doesn't matter who wins because Grace is untouchable. As of the tallies this morning, again, there might be a correction. Jenny, I did it based on how many times you won versus how much you participated, because Devon participated in one more episode. There's a mismatch. I tried to make it balanced. I didn't. So Grace is at 67% of the podcast she participated in wins, and I think two of those there was no winner. So she's like your said. Devon's at 50. And Jenny's at 43, but things might change a little
with the recount.
Wow.
Need a recount.
So it doesn't
I would have
really...
honestly predicted that Jenny would be the leader.
I was confused
Yes, you had
as
so
well.
many mic drops. Sound bites.
It was at first Devon was taking a lead. I mean, everyone during the 12 episodes there was changes in the lead, but by the end, Grace had flown ahead. So it doesn't matter who wins this one. So I'm going to say everyone gets a point this time because I gave such different questions. I don't know how I can possibly judge. But
So Grace still wins overall.
But Grace is going to win overall no matter what. So Grace won. Grace is the, quote, best marketer.
Does this mean the student has officially become...
I was going to say,
The
but
master?
we taught her everything she knows, so really we win.
We win. Everybody wins. So with that, I want to thank our sponsors, Typeform, Framer, and 42 Agency. Typeform, thank you for helping co-present this podcast and for being part of it from the beginning. Framer, thank you for being part of 9 out of the 12 episodes. That's almost as many Best Marketer Games as Grace won. And thanks to 42 Agency, they were one of my first sponsors on Market One from forever ago. So if you need a great way to do research or gather information on forums, check out Typeform. If you need to build a website, check out Framer. If you need help with your marketing ops or demand gen, go to 42 Agency. And thanks to Jenny, Devon, and Grace, but especially Devon, because I learned this morning that she did more episodes than everyone else, even though that wasn't the plan. But thanks to all of you for participating in this on Friday nights, Monday mornings, when you have full-time jobs and handling all the chaos and the newfound fame. Thanks to Caspian Studios for producing this whole thing, and to everyone who listened to even but a minute of all of this. That's all we have. We don't know what we're doing for season 2. Maybe we'll be back, maybe we won't. Rate us if you want us to come back. Don't rate us if you don't like us. And
Thank
Will
you,
there be
Kramer,
merch? Will there be a merch store?
there will be a merch store. I'm working
merch
on it.
Merch store.
Any sign-off words?
Got
Thanks
milk.
for having us. This was fun.
Got milk. Got milk.
I'm going to be smug about my victory for years.
Years. I'm going to get you some mums. That's a throwback reference to, I think, episode 1. I want to say that through this podcast, I learned that there was a follow-up sequel remake to the movie Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And I don't think there would have been any way I would have known that if I hadn't done this podcast. So that's what I've learned through all of this. And so I'm going to go watch
That's
that.
rewarding.
Very rewarding. I learned that I have a lot of frameworks, and now I call them frameworks. And people say to me, "Oh, I like your frameworks," and it's really embarrassing.
They say
I'm
that
sorry.
to you in
Oh, yeah.
person?
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's the
right.
end of that.
Bye.
Bye.